Most people don't stay broke. They just stay stuck. And that's far more dangerous. Because when you're broke, you know it. You feel the pressure. You feel the hunger. But when you're earning $60,000, $75,000, even $100,000 a year, you feel successful. I know that feeling. I've felt it myself. You feel stable. You feel proud. You feel like you finally made it. There's a certain happiness that comes with it. And that feeling is the trap. Nobody really talks about this. Not your school. Not your employer. Not even most finance channels. Because the truth isn't exciting. It's uncomfortable. The middle class is not a level. It's a loop. And most people never escape it. I didn't understand this for years. I was stuck in that loop too. Not because I was lazy. Not because I didn't work hard. But because the system rewards comfort and quietly punishes long-term thinking. Let me ask you something. If you're earning 6 figures, why do you still feel pressure? Why can one emergency still shake your confidence? Why does your lifestyle grow faster than your investments? Why does retirement still feel far away? You were told $100K was the goal. But what if that number was never freedom? What if it was just enough to keep you running? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Income is loud. Wealth is silent. You can earn $120,000 a year and still be financially fragile. Because wealth isn't about what you make. It's about what you own. Ownership takes time. Time requires patience. Patience requires discipline. And discipline is rare in a world built on instant gratification. Most people don't fail at zero. They fail at comfort. They reach a salary that feels good enough. Then they upgrade. Better car, better apartment, better lifestyle. And without realizing it, they lock themselves into a higher burn rate. Now they need that salary. Now they depend on it. Now they fear losing it. That's not freedom. That's dependency with better branding. This is the $100K lie. The lie isn't that you can't build wealth. The lie is that reaching 6 figures means you're safe. You're not. Because wealth isn't built in your income bracket. It's built in the gap. The gap between what you earn and what you keep. And most people shrink that gap the moment they get a raise. I've seen this firsthand. A close friend of mine was earning great money, higher salary than me. But he upgraded everything, lifestyle, spending, status. I focused on learning how money actually works, on saving, on investing. Years later, the difference was clear. Same income range, very different financial stability. One built assets. The other built expenses. One bought time. The other bought status. And status is expensive. Very expensive. In America today, you can look wealthy without being wealthy. Leased cars, credit-financed lifestyles, vacation photos, luxury branding, but behind the scenes, stress, payments, dependence. The real flex isn't lifestyle. It's optionality. The ability to say no. No to a toxic job. No to panic during a market crash. No to opportunities that don't align with your long-term vision. But optionality only comes from assets. Assets only grow through compounding. And compounding only works if you don't interrupt it. This is where most people lose. Not in the stock market. Not in crypto. Not in recessions. They lose in their own psychology. They underestimate time. They overestimate short-term comfort. and they quit too early because for the first few years, it feels like nothing is happening. You invest, you save, you sacrifice, and your net worth barely moves. You stop chasing income and start building ownership. And that's when everything changes. Let's make something clear. The biggest threat to your financial future isn't inflation. It isn't taxes. It isn't even the market. It's comfort. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, "You've worked hard. You deserve this." And that single sentence has destroyed more long-term wealth than any recession ever could. Because the moment your income rises, your identity rises with it. I've felt this in my own life. When you start earning more, you don't see yourself as starting out anymore. You see yourself as established. And established people don't live small. So you upgrade. At first, it feels harmless. A better apartment, a newer car, nicer dinners, weekend trips. Nothing extreme, just small improvements. But here's what nobody calculates. Every upgrade becomes a permanent monthly obligation, and obligations reduce flexibility. Flexibility is oxygen for wealth building. Without it, you slowly suffocate. This is how the middle class loop works in America. You increase income, you increase lifestyle, you reduce your savings rate, you stay dependent. And dependency feels normal because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Look around. Most six-figure earners aren't aggressively building assets. They're servicing payments. Mortgage, car loans, student debt, credit cards, subscriptions, lifestyle maintenance. On paper, they look successful. In reality, they're leveraged consumers. That's the invisible ceiling. You cannot build speed while carrying financial weight. And wealth is about velocity. Not just how much you have, but how fast it grows without you. The early phase is the hardest. Let's say you invest $10,000 a year. At 8-10% returns, the first few years feel slow. Year 1, small growth. Year 2, slightly more. Year 3, still not impressive. Your brain gets bored because your brain wasn't designed for exponential curves. It was designed for immediate reward. And exponential growth looks flat right before it explodes. That's why most people quit in the boring years. They mistake slow progress for no progress. But here's the math they ignore. Compounding doesn't reward intensity. It rewards duration. You don't win by pushing harder. You win by staying longer. The first $100K feels slow because your money doesn't have enough mass yet. But once you cross that threshold, growth accelerates. Not because you changed, but because the base changed, your money starts contributing more than your savings do. That's when the engine turns on. But most people never reach that point. They interrupt the process. They cash out early. They chase trends. They panic in downturns. Or they inflate their lifestyle before momentum is built. And once you increase your lifestyle, going backward feels psychologically painful. So instead of growing assets, you protect income. That shift is subtle, but it's deadly because now your focus becomes survival, not expansion. And survival thinking never creates freedom. This is why the $40K, $100K range is the most dangerous zone. You're no longer broke, but you're nowhere near independent. It feels like progress, but it's fragile progress. One job loss, one health emergency, one market panic, and the illusion cracks. Real wealth is not income security. It's asset security. Assets pay you. Income demands you. And as long as your lifestyle depends on your presence, you are not free. You are well paid. There's a difference. Society celebrates income. It rarely celebrates ownership. We celebrate job titles, not balance sheets. But your job title won't compound. Your assets will, and the longer you delay serious investing, the more velocity you lose. If you start at 22 instead of 32, you don't just gain 10 years. You multiply the outcome. I learned this the hard way. There were decisions in my own life that I delayed longer than I should have. And I don't want you to repeat that mistake. Time amplifies discipline, but it punishes delay. And delay feels harmless when life feels comfortable. That's the trap. Comfort convinces you that urgency isn't necessary. But wealth building requires urgency early so you can relax later. Most people reverse that. They relax early and stress later. This isn't a money problem. It's a psychological miscalculation. The system doesn't stop you from becoming wealthy. It distracts you just enough to stop pushing. It gives you just enough success to slow down. And that's why escaping the middle class loop isn't about earning more. It's about behaving differently at the same income level. Same salary, different habits, different future. The question is simple. When your income rises, do you expand your lifestyle or expand your investments? That one decision, repeated for years, determines everything. Let's make this real. Two people, same country, same intelligence, same average investment return. Only one difference. Time. Person A starts investing at 22. No genius. No six-figure salary. No secret strategy. Just disciplined. $10,000 per year. Every year. No hype trades. No market timing. No drama. Just consistency. Person B starts at 32. Same $10,000 per year. Same returns. Same discipline. The only difference is 10 years. That's it. By age 60, person B builds wealth. But person A, not just more, a lot more. Not because they invested more each year. Not because they were smarter. But because the first decade wasn't about money. It was about momentum. Here's what most people don't understand. The early years of investing aren't impressive. They're foundational. When person A invests in their 20s, the numbers look small. It feels slow. Friends are upgrading apartments, taking trips, posting lifestyle wins. And person A, quietly accumulating assets. It doesn't look exciting, but in the background, something powerful is happening. Those early dollars have 30, 40 years to compound. They grow. Then they grow on their growth. Then that growth grows. Eventually, returns start exceeding contributions. That's the shift. That's when wealth stops feeling manual and starts feeling automatic. Person B at 22 doesn't feel urgency. They feel safe. They tell themselves, I'll start when I earn more. I'll start once I'm settled. I'll start next year. But next year becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. And when they finally begin, they're not building from zero. They're building against time. And time doesn't negotiate. Here's the hard truth. If you delay your first dollar, 100K, by 10 years, you don't just lose 10 years of savings. You lose decades of compounding. And compounding isn't linear. It's exponential. That means the early years matter more than later intensity. Read that again. Early consistency beats late aggression. You cannot outwork time. You can only cooperate with it. And this is where regret begins. Most people in their 40s don't regret not buying a nicer car at 25. They regret not investing earlier. They regret underestimating compounding. They regret underestimating time. Because once you see the math, you can't unsee it. Now zoom out. Imagine you're 60. You worked 35, 40 years. You did everything right. Stable job, raises, promotions. But your investments, they never reached real velocity because you started late. Now, retirement isn't freedom, it's negotiation. Can you slow down? Can you afford healthcare? Can you afford not to work? That pressure doesn't come from low income. It comes from low asset velocity. And velocity is built early. That's why the first $100K isn't magical. It's mechanical. It's the point where your money starts lifting weight. Before that, you're doing most of the lifting. After that, the engine starts helping. But if you delay building the engine, you'll push for decades. And that's exhausting. The goal isn't to grind forever. The goal is to build something that eventually works without you. That only happens when time is on your side. And time only works for those who respect it early. Most people respect money. Very few respect time. That's why the wealth gap widens with age. Not because some people earn dramatically more, but because some people started dramatically earlier. The difference between 22 and 32 doesn't feel huge right now. Over 40 years, it's life-changing. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Every year you delay, the mountain gets steeper. Every year you stay consistent, the engine gets stronger. And once it's strong enough, it stops asking you to push harder. It only asks you not to quit. There's nothing magical about $100,000. It's not a flex. It's not something you post on Instagram. It's quiet. Before $100K, it feels like you're pushing a heavy car uphill. Every dollar feels small. Every month feels slow. You wonder if it's even worth it. Then something changes. After $100K, it's like the engine finally turns on. At 8-10% returns, $10,000 makes $800 a year. You barely notice. But $100,000? Now your money makes $8,000, $10,000. Suddenly, it feels real. Not because it's flashy, because it's helping you. That's the crossover. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people never reach $100K invested. Not because they're dumb, because life distracts them. They cash out when things get scary. They stop investing when money gets tight. They upgrade their lifestyle too fast. They tell themselves, I'll focus on it later. And every time they restart, the mountain gets steeper. The first $100K is hard because you're carrying all the weight. After that, math starts carrying some of it. And once math starts helping, your stress drops, your confidence rises, your decisions change. Here's where most people get stuck. Society trains you to chase income, higher salary, better title, bigger bonus. But income disappears if you stop working. Ownership doesn't. You can earn $150K a year and still feel anxious, or earn $70K and sleep peacefully because your assets are growing quietly in the background. Income builds lifestyle. Ownership builds freedom. One makes you look successful. The other makes you safe. And safety is underrated. There's another trap nobody talks about. Comfort. Once you can afford nice rent, a decent car, vacations, weekend dinners, you feel fine. And fine is dangerous because urgency disappears. You stop building aggressively. You stop sacrificing, and 10 years later, you realize you weren't building wealth. You were protecting comfort. Comfort feels good today. Assets protect tomorrow. So this isn't about being extreme. It's about a decision. When your income rises, do you upgrade your life or upgrade your ownership? When markets fall, do you panic or stay consistent? Wealth isn't built in exciting moments. It's built in boring years. Years when nobody notices. Years when it feels slow. until one day it doesn't. One day you wake up and your money is working. Your pressure is lighter. Your options are wider. Not because you're special, because you didn't quit. The biggest financial risk isn't inflation. It isn't taxes. It isn't market crashes. It's waiting. Waiting to earn more. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for the perfect time. Time doesn't care about perfect. It rewards consistent 10 years from now. You will either feel grateful or feel regret. And the difference is what you do this year. Not dramatic, not flashy, just consistent.